What if I told you there's a way to increase your GPU's performance without FSR, without DLSS, without frame generation? Well, in this GPU's case, it might just be true. You might recognize this GPU as the GPU I chose to upgrade my pre-built Ryzen system in the last video, and it was a decent uplift for that system, but I came to the revelation that this GPU is basically a power-limited RX 560 XT, thanks to this commenter right here. And essentially there is a way to mod the VBIOS for this GPU to unlock that TDP and bump up the VRAM and core clocks. The actual process itself was pretty simple. I just followed a guide on YouTube. It was as simple as just typing in different values and then using a tool to flash the VBIOS to the GPU. If you guys want to copy my settings I use for this GPU, I will go ahead and link the guide in the comments. Now, seeing as this GPU doesn't have any power cables at all, you are limited to a 75 watt TDP, unfortunately. So you aren't quite getting the full performance of the 560 XT, but let me tell you, the actual performance gains you're getting over the original 42 watt TDP is insane. It's actually quite a massive improvement. I think close to 2 times in some cases. Now, when I say this is a free performance gain, I'm obviously being a bit clickbaity. You are getting an increase in power draw, an increase in temperature, and definitely an increase in noise. You can adjust all the fan curve values in the VBIOS or in the AMD software if you want to get a more comfortable temperature. Just keep in mind that this little tiny fan right here is going to cause some noise. The GPU definitely runs toasty. The temperatures got up to like 90 Celsius at times, and that's just like, that's not good for this GPU at all. You know, now that I think of it, I haven't actually repasted this GPU yet, so let me go try that, I guess, and see if that improves temperatures at all. Now this would be where a cool montage happens where I repaste the GPU, but unfortunately it is pointless. Despite the fact that the thermal paste was dried up, it made absolutely zero difference to the temperatures, so yeah. So as a last resort, I went ahead and cranked the fan speed to the absolute maximum, and it actually made a difference. So all it took was turning the GPU into a lower accurate PS4, so I guess it's a fair trade-off. Anyways, with that, let's go ahead and see how much performance this GPU has gained after the BIOS modding. All right, we are in Resident Evil 4 Remake, and you might notice that we are actually screen recording. That's because I used my first YouTube paycheck to pay for an Elgato capture card. Thanks to you guys, especially the members. I really appreciate you guys supporting me and allowing me to get this very, very useful gadget for upping my video quality. So thank you a ton. But anyways, we are playing at the 1080p resolution with FSR 2 on quality. I'm basically just using the same settings as I used in the last video just to see where we're going at from a baseline, and then we can up the settings or resolution as we go along. But basically, I think it's the prioritized performance preset, and other than that, I think I turned on textures to like 4 gigabytes and FSR 2 on quality. So let's go ahead and see how this performs. And I think with these same settings, I was getting around like 30 to 40 FPS. And now, as you can see, we are in the 60 FPS range, which is just insane how much performance we can gain from a simple VBIOS mod. I'm gonna go ahead and kill these villagers real quick, but it's honestly crazy. This is quite an improvement. Like it's not that far away from a 2 times improvement, I think, which like I said, it's just insane for a VBIOS mod, which it does get hotter, as you can see from the temperatures. It does get louder, but I mean, hey, it's a semi-recent AAA game running at near 60 FPS, which is crazy for me. But yeah, honestly, this game doesn't really need a 60 FPS average. It's a pretty, it's slower. It's not like slow pace, but you can play it at sub 60 for sure. So I guess if you really need to up the graphics settings, you should still be able to get a decent performance metric on this game. You can also see how the extra VRAM comes into play here as well, because on other cards like the 1650, you'd be running out of VRAM with these settings and it would be stuttering like hell. But with this GPU, you have 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which for its price point is very nice to have, especially after the VBIOS mod. You can have a higher graphical experience without worrying about the VRAM limits, which is very nice. Even if you had the 3056 gigabyte, you would be running out of VRAM right now, which is crazy. And it just goes to show how important VRAM is on these more intensive AAA games. Anyways, obviously the performance is a lot better. I'll probably do like a side-by-side before and after the VBIOS modding. Now, I actually want to try something real quick. I'm going to do 1440p. Yes, I know it's crazy, 1440p on this little GPU. And we're also going to do native 1440p with no upscaling. Let's see how that does real quick. All right, we're still at a 30-ish FPS average, 40s, depending on where you're looking. Oh, I think we died. Okay, we are back, and as you can see, it isn't the most stable experience at all times, but I think it's just because I was messing with the graphics settings. But here we are running at native 1440p. This is a lower graphical preset, but I mean, it's native 1440p on this little WX5100. I'm honestly very impressed here, and we're still within that 8GB frame buffer, luckily. And we're still at a pretty respectable frame rate for this type of game. Obviously, most people wouldn't be gaming at 1440p on this card, but I mean, the option's there, I guess. And I'm a 1440p gamer usually, so it's just cool to see this GPU doing this right now. It's honestly very cool having these weaker GPUs run at such a high resolution. And it looks great. I mean, honestly, the image is sharp. I mean, as you would expect from a 1440p image. Can these people get off of me? But yeah, we're still within the 8GB of VRAM. It looks great. It runs pretty reasonably well, especially considering this is the most intensive part of the entire game as far as I'm aware, at least. And there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, it does drop into the lower 30s, maybe sometimes high 20s, which can be a problem for some people. But this is 1440p on this little GPU. You could never hope to do this before the VBIOS upgrade. I'm telling you, this is quite an improvement. But yeah, honestly, I'm impressed with this little GPU and what it can actually do. What the hell? Who just threw that at me? Resident Evil 4 Remake isn't the newest game out there, and it's definitely one of the more optimized ones, but we're still at a native 1440p on this little GPU, and like you can tell from the VRAM, like other GPUs around this price point would be stuttering like hell right now, these settings. I'm definitely impressed with this performance for sure. All right, next up we have some Palworld. We're playing at 1080p with the medium settings all around with TSR enabled. Let's go with this real quick and see how it does. All right, we are in the game. Oh my God, we're actually running at like close to 60 FPS right now. Wasn't this getting like 30s before the VBIOS update? This is crazy. And we're still well within the 8GB frame buffer for sure. We're barely even touching 3GB right now, which is nice to see. This is starting to become nighttime. I should probably go sleep or something. All right, I'm lazy, so I just decided to create another world because I didn't feel like making a bed or whatever you do in this game. But yeah, this is a pretty close to 60 FPS average. Like it's looking like a pretty enjoyable experience. And I believe we were running at about like maybe mid 30s before the VBIOS update, maybe low 40s. I don't remember, honestly. I'll put it up on screen about what we were running at, but I mean, this is looking like a massive uplift as far as I can remember. And it's just crazy how much performance you can gain from a simple little VBIOS update. Like, it was not hard at all to do it. It took me like 10 minutes to do this max. But as far as I can see, it's a pretty great improvement at 1080p at least. Let's go ahead and try 1440p out and see if that's any good. All right, we are at 1440p right now, and we're still in the high 30s to low 40s. Wow, I'm actually really impressed right now. And the image quality looks pretty good as well. Pretty sharp, which you would expect from a 1440p image. This is like, I think this was about what we were getting at 1080p, but now it's at 1440p. That's honestly an insane thing to think about in terms of performance gains. And this game is pretty optimized in terms of VRAM usage, I've noticed. We're at 1440p at medium settings and we're still below 4GB. So a card like the 1650 would be doing okay with these settings as well. But yeah, honestly, if you want to crank up the settings at a lower resolution like 1080p, you definitely could. Or maybe you want to have a higher resolution experience like 1440p, you absolutely can do that as well. It's still very playable. Of course, these games do get more intensive as you go along, so I can't guarantee it will be running this well forever. But as of right now, it's definitely doing pretty good. And it looks pretty good as well. Like I said, 1440p, medium settings don't look too bad. Definitely better than low settings. You know what? Let me actually try the lowest possible settings real quick. All right, put everything to like close to lowest, or as low as I remember it going. And we're at about 60-ish FPS. We're maybe a little below that on average. That's cool to see. I mean, it's not the prettiest looking game now, but if you absolutely want to max your frame rate out at 1440p, that's an option. Yeah, honestly, I can't say I'm too angry at this. This is a very nice performance gain for very little compromise. Like it's not a lot of compromises here, as long as you don't mind having a jet engine in your computer. But I mean, hey, it's free performance. I'm trying to use these more GPU bound games just so I can see the full improvement of having a GPU VBIOS modded. So I might go ahead and do one more game, maybe some Minecraft with shaders real quick, and then wrap it up. But so far, I'm very impressed with the performance gains I've seen. All right, we are playing some Minecraft with the light shader pack at 1080p with the 12 render distance. And right now we're getting around 120 to 130, maybe 140 here and there, depending on what we're doing, or what we're doing. That was a big stutter. It's probably still loading in the world. But as I was saying, depends on what you're doing. But yeah, this is, as far as I can remember, a pretty pretty good improvement. I don't remember what we were doing before, honestly, so I can't really commentate on that. As far as I can tell, it's looking good. This is full 1080p. This is probably about what we were getting at 720p, I'd say. So obviously a pretty large improvement considering we're now at 1080p. This is just the light shader pack, so it's not really the most intensive. We will be using the Extreme VL as well. But as it stands right now, it's just a very playable experience with the light shader pack, about 120-ish, probably on average. But let's go ahead and see how the Extreme VL does real quick, just for fun. All right, we are in the Extreme VL, and wow, still an above 60 experience for the most part. You could definitely play Minecraft like this, which I think before we were getting 40-ish. So it's not quite a 2 times improvement, but it's definitely a noticeable one for sure. And it should mean that we can play at 1440p, maybe. We'll definitely test that. But as it stands right now at 1080p with the Extreme VL shader pack, we're looking pretty good. Yeah, I think we were actually getting around like maybe mid 40s before, and now we're getting mid 60s, maybe low 60s sometimes, but that's a very welcome improvement for sure. But looking pretty good here at the 1080p resolution with the Extreme VL shader pack. Let's go ahead and try 1440p with the light shader pack. Okay, we are back in Minecraft with the 1440p resolution with the light shader pack, and yeah, it's looking pretty nice. I think this is about what we were doing with the Extreme VL preset at 720p, which I don't really know how to compare that, I guess, so it's kind of pointless for me to bring it up, but this is definitely looking good. It's a well above 60 FPS experience, native 1440p with a shader pack. It's nice. I'm really happy of what we're doing right now. This is a high resolution with a shader pack on a very thin GPU. It's not really like a small GPU, it's pretty thin, single slot, and it was only around 50 bucks, so I'm pretty happy with this. Let me go ahead and try, just for fun, the Extreme VL preset. I just want to see what it does at 1440p. Okay, we are in with the Extreme VL, and wow, we're getting like high 40s to low 50s. That's quite an improvement. That's probably more than what we were getting before at 1080p, but now we're at 1440p. That's crazy. I'm very impressed with this GPU right now, honestly. This is a very nice step up in terms of raw performance. And if you have this GPU, I do highly recommend you do this, guys. It's really, really nice to have this level of performance on this GPU. Of course, if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. It is your own discretion if you decide to flash the VBIOS. But as far as I can tell, the main downside would just be temperature and noise, and maybe stability here and there. Obviously, if you're having stability issues, change your VBIOS settings. Don't keep pushing your GPU beyond its limit, please. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with this performance right now. Anyways, I guess I'll go ahead to the conclusion of this video and let you guys know my final thoughts. So, in conclusion, how was the performance gains I got from flashing the VBIOS of this GPU? Well, they were actually pretty awesome. I think across the board, it was around a 40 to 50% average increase in performance just from flashing the VBIOS. So the person that commented on my video was absolutely correct. As far as I could tell, it was just a net positive improvement in almost every regard, besides the fan speed, of course. And that leads me to whether you guys should go ahead and do this. Now, I'm gonna give that a big fat it depends. It depends on if you guys are comfortable modding your VBIOS on your GPU, as it can be a little sketchy for sure. It also depends on whether you guys are comfortable with the increase in heat and noise you get from doing this. And you do also have the possibility of causing your GPU to be completely unstable. When you're doing modifications like this, you're basically playing silicon lottery. So if your GPU isn't up to snuff to run at these higher clocks, it can just completely crash and die. And I also believe it depends on your VRAM type. So some VRAM types are better at clocking higher than others. So definitely do your research beforehand and make sure that your GPU can actually handle the increased clocks. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with the performance gains I saw from this, and I'm definitely feeling like it changes the perspective of the upgrade video I just previously did. It's definitely punching more above its weight class now, definitely. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content like this, please let me know. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching.
A big thank you to all my channel members that have decided to give me their money and support my channel. I really appreciate that. If it weren't for them, I would not be making these videos. So thank you.